become the first members of the American Climate Corps. We're recruiting for over 2,000 positions in 36 states to start with, in Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, with many on the way. Just go to Climate Corps, as mentioned already, climatecorps.gov to apply. You'll get paid to fight climate change, learning how to install those solar panels, fight wildfires, rebuild wetlands, weatherize homes, and so much more that's going to protect the environment and build a clean energy economy. To ensure a pathway to good union jobs and careers, you'll have access to free apprenticeship training through a new partnership we're announcing today with the North American Building Trade Unions. And as you may remember, when I announced in 2020, I initially didn't announce my climate position until I talked to the unions, because unions were all, again, they thought climate cost them jobs. Well, guess what? IBW stepped up, and they all stepped up, and now our strongest support comes from unions. When you finish your service, you finish your term of service, you'll also be eligible for a streamlined path to federal government jobs related to climate and clean energy. We're also announcing a new collaboration with Bloomberg Philanthropies that puts American Climate Corps members in energy communities like former coal mining and communities, power plant communities that have powered our nation but have been fence-line communities and hurt very badly for generations. Today's announcement builds upon an unprecedented historic action we've already taken to tackle the climate crisis, deliver environmental justice, and build a clean energy future. Just look at the last few weeks alone. To ensure clean energy, we issued new standards for chemical plants that emit toxic pollution. Now is ending. And because of the Clean Air Act, we're going to reduce the number of people at risk for cancer in fence-line communities who have been smothered for decades by pollution by 96%, according to the studies. By the way, parenthetically, you know, my state of Delaware, which everybody thinks is a wealthy state, I live in a place called Claymont, Delaware. It's in that arc that goes up into Philadelphia, into Pennsylvania, and to the Delaware River. More energy plants, more oil refineries than anywhere, including Houston, Texas. And I lived in just literally, the school I went to was literally a quarter mile from that border. And the prevailing winds were southeast, where we lived. So there was never any incentive for the Pennsylvanians to move to do something, but it affected Delaware. And we had the highest cancer rate in the 1970s of any nation, any state in the nation. And guess what? A lot of us, from me included, ended up with bronchial asthma and many other diseases. Fence-line communities are the ones we have to help first because they've been taking the brunt of all of this. To ensure clean drinking water, we issued the first ever national drinking water standard that will protect people from exposure to harmful substances known as forever chemicals. And after 30 years of inadequate protections, we finally are going to put a ban on asbestos, which we know causes cancer. It's all part of a plan to reassert America's climate leadership. We rejoined the Paris Agreement and sparked a domestic clean energy manufacturing boom, providing incentives for 80,000 farmers to implement climate-smart agricultural practice. So plant what absorbs carbon from the air and pay them for doing it. We've quadrupled the number of electric vehicles sold, and 11,000 dealerships have now signed up to sell more. We're modernizing infrastructure with better roads and highways, energy grids, and more, so they can withstand and recover from extreme weather. Already underway, we're replacing every single lead pipe in America so everyone can turn on a faucet, home or at school, and drink clean water that doesn't contain lead. We're also reducing flood risk for communities, improving drought resilience, and conserving 41 million acres of our most precious and sacred lands and water. I committed that I'm going to try to take of all non-developed land and waters, we're going to take 30% of it by 2030 and make sure it is conserved, period. We're well on our way. We've already attracted nearly $700 billion in private sector investments in advanced manufacturing and clean energy, creating tens of thousands of jobs here in America. And all across the board, we're lifting up communities and workers too often left out in urban, rural, suburban, tribal communities all across the country. But folks, despite the overwhelming devastation in red and blue states, there's still those who deny climate is in crisis. My MAGA Republican friends don't seem to think it's in crisis. They actually want to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, which provides the funding for a vast majority of these projects, and roll back clean air, protections for clean air and clean water. And I'm not going to go into it now, but I'm not making it up. It's real. Just listen to what they say. Anyone in or out of government who willfully denies the impacts of climate change is condemning the American people to a very dangerous future, and the world, I might add. They want to take us backwards, sideline our workers, let China and others lead the race for clean energy. I'm determined, absolutely determined, that we move forward. We move forward. Let me close with this. In 1933, and it was referenced by the Congress lady, that when Roosevelt outlined the Civilian Conservation Corps, he said, quote, and I'm quoting, "More important than the material gains will be the moral and spiritual value of such work." He always put it in the context that went beyond just what the immediate need was. I'd say the same holds true for what we're doing here today. It has a moral imperative. And I've never been more optimistic about America's future. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity. We work together. So happy Earth Day, folks. And God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. We're going to get this done, I promise you, come hell or high water. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Come on. All right, guys, let's get this done, okay? All right. God bless you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.